Welcome to Running Shoes Guru. I'm Brandon, and today we're going to be reviewing the New Balance FuelCell TC. Now the TC in its name stands for Training and Competition. It was designed to handle all those miles leading up to a marathon, but have the ability to handle the actual race itself, hence the name Training and Competition. It's also the training companion to the more expensive FuelCell RC Elite. And as a training companion, it falls into one of the very small niche categories of training companions, which includes the Zoomfly 3 and the Endorphin Speed. But unlike those training companions, the FuelCell TC is $40 more expensive. So what makes it so expensive, and is it worth its enormous price tag? My previous experience with the New Balance FuelCell midsole was the superb FuelCell Propel. Now this shoe was super light and very cushioned, but what I didn't like about it was that it was so flexible in the forefoot, and the ride was so soft, bordering on mushy, that it was difficult to pick up the pace in these. So I was really interested to find out how the FuelCell midsole performs with a carbon plate in it. When it comes to looks, I really like the design. I describe it as simple but elegant. The pearlescent glow of the midsole when the sunlight hits it reminds me of an expensive German sports car. Like the Zoomfly 3, the FuelCell TC is also bottom heavy because the upper is minimal and light, but all the weight comes from the TPU midsole with the carbon plate in it. When flexing the shoe, you can see that the carbon fiber plate is a lot more flexible than the stiff carbon fiber plate inside the Zoomfly 3 and the Vaporfly Next Percent. And I'd say it's about the same stiffness as the Carbotex plate in the Adizero Pro. When walking around in the shoe for the first time, I could feel the copious amounts of cushioning underneath my feet, and it felt really substantial and squishy. And just from walking around in it, I could feel that this was a shoe that I could run a full marathon in. My first run in the TCs was nothing short of amazing. It was a long 33-kilometer weekend run, and the ride just felt so smooth and efficient. By the end of the run, my legs still felt fresh and I felt like I could go even further. While every other carbon-plated shoe that I've run in has felt unforgiving and harsh, the FuelCell TC has felt soft and bouncy with plenty of protection. FuelCell feels amazing, and in my opinion, is the flagship New Balance midsole foam. It's no wonder New Balance decided to use FuelCell and not Fresh Foam X in the RC and the TC. While Fresh Foam X lacks the flair of new age midsole super foams, FuelCell feels softer but not mushier, while being extremely bouncy at the same time. The best thing about the TC's FuelCell midsole is that it felt great at a variety of paces. Whether I was doing tempo runs at below 4 minutes per kilometer or slower runs at over 6 minutes per kilometer, the shoe felt great. So the big question is, how does the carbon plate inside the shoe perform? I found it didn't really have an extreme forward tipping sensation, but it helped keep the shoe rigid and help roll me through transitions. Stability is the shoe's one weakness, and stability in the FuelCell TC is below average. You see, the forefoot is wide and stable, but the narrow midfoot and rear foot make it feel wobbly, especially when cornering. So the FuelCell TC is more suited to straight routes where there aren't many turns. On the outsole, the forefoot is covered in thick, blown rubber, which extends down into the midfoot. On the rear foot, there are two thick strips of rubber which protect the heel high wear areas. traction has been great in my experience on both road and pavement in dry and wet conditions. Durability of the FuelCell TC is average. While the midsole is nitrogen-infused TPU, which won't lose much cushioning over time, the thin minimal mesh upper will not last as long as the midsole and the outsole. The upper of the FuelCell TC fit me perfectly. It's a lot more accommodating and roomier than the average carbon-plated racer, so I didn't mind wearing it for runs that lasted longer than 3 hours. It's made from an ultra-thin, highly breathable, translucent mesh, which reminded me a little bit of Flyknit Loft on the Nike Infinity Run. There are matte black overlays on the heel and the lacing areas. The only thing that I don't like about the FuelCell TC's upper is the tongue. It's thin and isn't gusseted, so it doesn't slide laterally, but it slides downwards during runs. So while waiting to cross the road, I occasionally found myself pulling up the tongue again. The heel counter of the TC flares upwards and not away from the foot. And there's an internal heel counter which provides structure and support. I experienced some heel slippage when lacing them up normally, but doing heel lock lacing solved the problem. My favorite part of the upper are the laces. They are thick and flat, and they have a reflective thread that goes down the middle of them. I thought this was a really clever way for New Balance to add reflective elements without adding on overlays that weigh down the shoe. Apart from the downward tongue slide, the upper of the TC is great and fits true to size. Uppers are one component that New Balance rarely messes up. The FuelCell TC is the best carbon-plated trainer that I've run in. And the main difference between the TC and other carbon-plated trainers is that your foot sinks down into the soft foam. While the other carbon-plated trainers have firm midsoles to accommodate the carbon plate, the FuelCell TC's soft midsole makes it feel more engaging and more fun to run in. Its comfortable, accommodating upper can be worn for hours on end, and its highly cushioned FuelCell midsole rivals some max cushion trainers. Now, the FuelCell TC was designed to be both a trainer and a racer, but I do feel that it's more suited to being a trainer because its high level of cushioning might get in the way during races. The FuelCell TC is spectacular, but it's not perfect. The tongue slides downwards during runs, and its narrow midfoot and rear foot makes it slightly unstable. But those are only minor faults, and the FuelCell TC is still my favorite carbon-plated shoe. I was skeptical of the FuelCell TC because of its high price tag, but after having run in it, I can say that the FuelCell TC is worth every bit of its $200 price tag.